Welcome to Money Station in Conversation, where we discuss the important, the interesting and the useful tailored to you. And today I'm joined by Ella and Lawrence. And we've got a little bit of a celebration going on because it's Lawrence's birthday. Yeah. How old are you, Lawrence? Is it 47?
Yeah. Oh my God. 27. Cheers. 27 or something.
But we've got loads of interesting things to talk about today. And it's something that it's quite important to all of us and it affects a lot of people, but I don't hear people talk about it because it seems to be the elephant in the room. So, without further ado, the question today is, do we really care about slavery?
Not enough. I don't think we care enough because obviously it's still a massive problem. 25 million people are still in forced labour, and it doesn't stop us from, buying our drip or buying our phones, even though we're well aware of the fact fast fashion has forced labour involved, etc. iPhones, Samsung, built in places where they force people to work, and kind of just shrug. So when there's a big story or there's something that sort of gives that momentum for a moment, then yeah, sure, we care for a minute, but we don't change anything long term.
But I think, and I'm probably to blame as well, but I think it's strange when we go on marches, we put up the posts, we constantly have these discussions about we were enslaved for over 400 years. It affected us massively, and we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. But yet, us as a people, in terms of African, Caribbean, African American, mixed race people, we're massive consumers. And the elephant in the room is we don't seem to care that much when it comes to current slavery. So we've seen a lot of it in the press about the Uyghur Muslims. They're currently being enslaved, and the media they've niced it up, they've dressed it up, forced labour, or but it's slavery, because the definition of slavery is to be forced into labour without payment or very little payment in inhumane conditions, which is what they're facing at the moment. And that brings me to a question: do we only care about horrific things such as slavery when it only affects us, but we don't actually care about it if it affects anyone else?
Does anyone care that much about things when they don't affect them? I think it doesn't, the group itself doesn't necessarily matter. So like Nigeria and Congo are two of the biggest places where there's forced labour.
So there's slavery at the moment still happening in Nigeria and Congo.
Exactly. And, tech, iPhones, whatever, they are big consumers of the natural materials they get children to mine in Congo, and still we buy them. So I don't know if it's necessarily like, oh, it's happening to my group and therefore it has to stop. It's probably that distance between the person it's happening to and yourself, where like comfortable in the West, all right, it's not really our problem, and we probably have more of an attachment through our own heritage to transatlantic slavery. We've got more of a feeling of loss or effect through loads of different cultural reasons, and it's personal rather than what's going on.
So you're confirming we don't care unless it affects us, and it's not just African countries. There's still slavery happening in India, China, Russia, the Philippines, Bangladesh, North Korea. So it's, as you said, 24.9 million people are still slaves around the world. And then we look at Dubai. The majority of Dubai was built on forced labour, the slave trade.
Yep.
And even now there's over 250,000 people in Dubai who are being forced into labour. Their passports or travel certificates have been taken away, and they're having to work for those back. Yet our people are always going to Dubai.
Going to Dubai.
We love a little Dubai.
It's the bit where I'm going to throw you guys under the bus. Have you been to Dubai?
I've not been to Dubai.
I have.
You have? Okay.
I have.
Did you would you go again?
Yeah, I would. I'll be honest, I would. I've been there more than once. From the experiences that I had there, you can definitely see like the hierarchy, and you can see people at the bottom, and then you can see people at the top and how they're treated and things like that. But I think the problem is the sort of, it's in passing. You're sort of desensitized. I
don't know, because I had a couple of friends that went to Dubai last year, and one of them said that she literally had to go in the toilet and cry because she saw, and I think now the people there they've got more of a voice, so you will hear the stories quickly, like from certain people on building sites or even taxi drivers, like, we don't have any rights here. Or I've failed to be, like, I haven't received payment for over 6 weeks, and there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah, those are the
I still have to go to work, because if I don't, I risk not getting paid in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
So my thing is, and my question would also be, if we all could sign a document that would say slavery will end worldwide tomorrow, but the items that you purchase will triple or quadruple, would you do it? So your iPhone now, you can pay it off monthly, or if you pay up front, an iPhone is what, £1,000 now?
Yeah.
Like that.
So that would now be £4,000 or £5,000. Your Nike trainers, you'll pay, well, trainers are becoming more and more expensive now anyway, but instead of paying £100 or £80 for kicks, you'll pay like £200-300, and so the list would continue. Would you be willing to do that?
I would, because obviously there's only good that can come out of it, but like you said, it's a case where everyone has to all be in agreement in order for it to work. And I think if everyone's in agreement, then it places the priority on things differently. The priority is now on ending slavery. The priority is not on buying drip, because that's the thing. You go to Dubai and you see it, or you have the conversation, but the minute you come back home, your judgment becomes clouded by everything else, because you just now have to live your day-to-day life, because we don't see it like that. In the UK, I was reading like an article, and it was saying about, the true cost of consumerism is broken down into 3 things. Like, there's the true cost, so that's the item that you purchase. They market it at £9.99 instead of £10 to encourage you to buy it. Then there's the hidden cost, which is the upkeep of the item. So for example, if it's your iPhone, it's the insurance, it's the case, it's the this, it's the that. And then there's the time factor. It's the cost of the time that you spend with the item that is then taken away, from spending time with family or reading a book and educating yourself and stuff like that. And marketing has done such a great job, or the economy or companies, whatever it is, has done such a great job at sucking us into all of that, that the minute we turn away from something, it's no longer important. Because all of those factors now become even more important than the original issue in the first place. So I think, going back to the question,
you'd be willing.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you'd be willing as well.
My other question is, though, like, most of the companies that are selling these things at a 3 times markup or whatever, they're namming massive profits. So it's kind of like, where's the balance there? Obviously, I'm willing to pay more, and I just wouldn't buy Nike if it was free bills. Like, forget it. But like, we're not addressing part of the issue, which is that there's huge amounts of greed, multi-billion companies that are profiting off slavery and off overpriced products.
So you think the price point should stay the same for us, but these massive companies should...
I mean, that would be the ideal for me.
Give some of their profit to the workers.
Of course. I mean, of course.
Okay, so question though. So then who is to blame? Is it the companies, or is it the enforcement then? Because we've got, obviously, the modern day... Or the consumer. Yeah, like, basically, where does the fault lie? Is it us buying the item? Is it the company selling the item? Or is it the act who know that slavery is in existence, but it's the low penalties that obviously are allowing people to sort of get away with it?
It's got to be all 3, right? Because none of them can exist alone. You couldn't just have the companies and the people who are not enforcing it without the consumers. You couldn't have the consumers, wouldn't have anywhere to buy this.
If the product wasn't available.
But this is the thing, we're casually having a conversation about, modern day slavery now, and we all benefit from it. We all buy clothing, we all buy technology, so on and so forth. But then we place heavy emphasis on the white man was practically Satan for, you know, carrying out slavery and benefiting and off the cotton, sugar, all the rest of it. And then couldn't we apply that same rationale that maybe then not everyone was a slave owner, but a lot of European people benefited from slavery.
I'm not sure.
So in terms of them, did they have, and I'm not trying to diminish what happened, but did they have the same absent-minded attitude as we have now?
I think so, but I'm not sure I would describe it as them benefiting, because, I mean, yeah, maybe you'd had access to sugar where you wouldn't otherwise, but at the same time, the transatlantic slave trade was going on. Most people in the UK were, what was the word? Serfs or peasants? They basically worked on their farms for free, so they weren't really receiving any of the profits or the benefits. I think the benefits for the UK and UK population writ large came much later because of the economic development. But the people at the time, I mean, I think before the Boer War, they realised when they tried to conscript the working class, they realised these men didn't even have teeth. They weren't fit enough to fight a war against the Boers. And so that's how the NHS came about. And so this is 1890. The idea that they were benefited from like the imperialism of Britain is just isn't the case. Most people weren't.
Yeah. So let's see how bad the brands that we love so much fare. Ella, don't hide you. I'm not alone with this. I'm not alone. So no.
The Bible's for you. This one you can share.
So there was some research carried out by No Chain Report, and what they do is they have a look at the supply chains of various companies, and this is all the way from luxury companies, brands, all the way to your high street. Okay. And historically, H&M, Primark, they were known for using, and please everyone do research on this, don't always take my word for it, but they were known for using a lot of sweatshops in India and Bangladesh, and I think a lot
even
of...
Boohoo recently with over here.
Leicester.
Yeah. But I think the ones that face so much problems have bucked up their ideas because they don't want to be in the documentaries anymore. So how they scored, they did a scoring system of 1 to 100, 100 being that your supply chain has no slavery, it's not connected to slavery, and 0 being you're completely horrendous. So
you even in the shop in West End, slaves.
So we've got some lovely items that we all like.
Oh, lovely.
And do you know what? It's sad, and I'm being jovial.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, when you strip it away, it is quite sad. Because, again, we are huge consumers. If you go on, like, the Shade Bar, Shade Room, we even praise when someone has drip. It's like, yeah, dripped out, my guy, all this stuff. But the truth of the matter is, so the brands to fare the worst was actually Prada.
Thanks.
So Prada scored an abysmal 5. So 1 to 100.
5.
We're not even going to say whose that is.
No.
No, do you know what? Again, I can't say, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. And I've always taken this stance in many views I have in life. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to keep on going on about slavery. Yes, it was disgusting. But there are people in China that are making the drip I buy. So
yeah, that's the reality of it.
Who am I to continuously say, all white people benefit from slavery, the white man, this, that, and the first, Oyinbo, da-da-da-da-da. We see it online all the time. But then we're going to buy drip.
100%.
So Prada fared the worst at 5. And this is out of 100, by the way.
I know, 5.
But so low.
5. But then how are they able to still, like, manufacture and...
Because they're powerful. They've got money. And because...
But what makes them powerful? That's not just us as consumers.
It is. It's supply and demand. The biggest, most powerful people wear designer luxury items, and they're the ones who have the power to stop it, and they're not going to stop it.
I'm just wondering how they get so far in their supply chain with
that
many slaves. It's crazy.
Next one is Ferragamo, weighing in at 13 on the score
13
card. Yep. So they are linked to a lot of forced labour in their supply chain. The next one is LVMH, which has Louis Vuitton, Fendi, Dior, I think, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure I've seen quite a few of these. And like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Like, I've got Fendi trainers on. But at the same time, again, I've said this so many times recently, I used to be that person, that sort of socialist, slavery, this, that and the third, we're oppressed, blah, blah. But I rarely do those things anymore because I have to constantly look in the mirror. And yes, slavery was horrendous for African Americans, Caribbean individuals, and many people in Africa. But unless I'm willing to stop buying various things, and it's not even just about drip, because like I said, the high street brands are getting a lot better. Adidas is now deemed as acceptable because they're around the 65 mark.
Acceptable.
65.
It's okay.
But then, okay, so I had a look after doing a bit of research. I said, in order for us to be completely ethical with our shopping habits, we would have to be very specific and only shop in niche places. So then I had a look at this outfit. I mean, oh, Jesus. This outfit, serious. I could get this on Boohoo or in Primark for about £7 top and bottoms. £7.
How much is it?
Yeah. Ethically sourced cotton. This outfit is £139.
Yeah.
£139.
I mean, someone I know well makes an effort to do that, and the prices are astronomically different.
And again, it's not even real lace. This sort of bralette, £75. You can get this for £3 online.
Here's my question then. Like, do the people that have that option, do they have to be quite well off?
So I was reading an article, and no, they don't. So apparently it's actually us within the middle that are the biggest reasons and contributors to buying the drip.
slave
Because
trade.
yeah, basically because we want to compete with those at the top who have obviously their runaway incomes, can buy what they want, etc., etc. So because we're in the middle and we have a certain level of disposable income, it's actually us that are in the middle that are the biggest contributors.
I don't know. I would say that about drip. We definitely, like, whether it's new money attitude or which derived from the bourgeoisie, which is now the middle class, we're trying to prove that we can do anything the upper and aristocratic class can do. But that upper class, they still use a lot of technology.
Yeah,
Oh
of
yeah,
course.
no, they
But I
definitely
think the
contribute
point-
to the problem.
yeah,
but
when-
are they so
They're
far?
not, but that's because we're bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
The amount
Yeah.
of us is bigger.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that we do it.
Despite the fact that we may have less power than what they do. Yeah.
And even people that can afford to shop for that deg top and bottoms for 175 or 139 pounds, can they afford it easily because they historically benefited from our slave trade? Do you see where I'm going with this? So people that can afford, you often get, and this is not the most politically correct, but you often get those like middle to upper class old money individuals that now are jumping on every woke bandwagon there is. Anti-slavery, anti-this, anti-that.
I have no idea who she's talking about.
I'm only
None.
going to shop. Don't lie to me. I'm only going to shop ethically. You can afford it because the way how your mum and dad and you have money is benefiting from the slavery that we had to endure, our forefathers.
Playing devil's advocate though, are they wrong for now wanting to make a difference?
No, I wouldn't say they're wrong, but going back to the technology side of things, that before we close, these are things that I wanted to raise. So when we look at our phones, there's something called conflict minerals to see how technology fares with their connection to slavery. And the best phone, if you want to be ethical and you don't want to participate in the slave trade, is a brand called Fairphone. Have you heard of Fairphone?
I have.
Of course you have.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
the
know
person-
anyone with a Fairphone.
The person that bought the
phone.
Fairphone had to get rid of the Fairphone and get a normal phone because
Because it
wasn't
couldn't do
very good.
anything.
It was rubbish. And it was like, it was just bad.
So this is what I mean though.
It
So
was
imagine
bad.
the phone couldn't do anything to accommodate the current lifestyle. So they were forced to now go and get another
was still a
item that
smartphone.
contributes to
Yeah.
slavery
It was still a
just to be
smartphone,
able
but
to
it was
continue
rubbish.
life.
Yeah.
So that was the best. The best was Fairphone and Alphabet Google phone. I'm quite surprised by that, but yeah.
Okay.
And this may have changed as well. So that's why I
Alphabet,
encourage everyone
Google
to do their
phone.
research.
Sounds like a child's phone.
The middle ground was Apple. I think they've fixed up quite a lot though. And Motorola. Does anyone still use Motorola? And the worst was Samsung, Hawaii, Nokia, BlackBerry, and Alcatel. So those are the worst phones. So if you have a Samsung, you are complicit in the slave trade.
Yeah, those crisp photos. Someone else paid the price for them.
But this draws us to a close.
Yeah.
But it's important that we always, instead of being quick to rubbish a whole group of people about their connection to their ancestors and the slave trade, like we often see in the media, what is our participation in the
on a
current
day-to-day basis.
slave trade? Well, what do you guys think?
I always knew it was connected.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Don't want to be dishonest. I might reconsider Prada, seeing as they're number 5.
Yeah.
I might buy more Adidas, seeing as they're considered acceptable. But I'll be honest, it's something that's going to affect me today,
Yeah.
tomorrow, and the day after that, and all of a sudden it's going to take a fleeting thought, day to day, etc., and I'm going to forget, and I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to go, oh, I like that, I'm going to buy it without hesitation.
And what's your views on it?
I've got a slight curveball.
Is slavery always going to be a part of society, even if it's not in our face?
That's a
I
really
think
good
so.
question. It doesn't have to be.
No.
It doesn't have to be. But I think transatlantic slavery seems particularly egregious because it was so brutal and because like.
But what
15
makes you
million-
think that Uyghur Muslims are not facing brutality now?
No, they are.
They're
They are.
going through horrendous things,
But there's
like
a
rape. They're shaving the women's hair off to sell to us ladies who like weave. Like there's so many things that they're going through, and because we don't see it, it's not as bad as the transatlantic slave trade. Says
I
who?
think that's the problem though, it's because we don't see it, or we don't have an aunt or an uncle or a grandma or a grandparent that can say,
And remember,
I'm
the
not sure
Chinese
that's
press,
it.
the Chinese press is very oppressed, so we can't see the pictures and we can't see what goes on.
That's fine. That's fair. But I don't think there's I think the main issue with transatlantic slavery is 1, the distance, 2, the time, and 3, the fact that it came with a whole structure of white supremacy and anti-blackness that continues to this day. Whereas like before
Was it
that,
anti-black, or was it that they actually tried to use Irish indentured servants, criminals from Scotland and Wales? They took them to the Caribbean, realised they couldn't withstand the sun, so then they looked for hotter countries that had people that could withstand the sun.
That is what happened.
And then they used them. So is it about being anti-black, or that they just happened to benefit
No, but
from them
that's
being
the
able to deal with the conditions?
That's the difference, though. It's not that it originated as something that was anti-black. It's that it became something that was justified with anti-blackness.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
dehumanization
Yeah, okay.
of black people because it's convenient that we have them as slaves.
So what's the answer, Lawrence?
The answer, I don't know. I don't think that it has to be a part of society forevermore. Like we ourselves, I looked up and found out we had 5,000 cases of slavery in the UK in 2018, and I'm sure that covers up.
Is that connected to Boohoo, yeah?
It could be, yeah, exactly, and it covers up a whole bunch of undiscovered cases. You might remember the Chinese people that were found picking cockles or whatever. So it's still an issue here, but like over time it does improve, and it does take like for us to start consuming a bit more ethically. That's where the pressure comes from. So these conversations are important because my conscience might be pricked when I buy another Samsung.
I think that's what it is, yeah. It's the pricking of the conscience more.
And trying where we can.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's another episode finished. Thank you for watching, and please always carry out your own research as things do change in terms of stats and facts. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Money Station in Conversation, and our Instagram and our Twitter is moneystation__. Thank you.